Hurricanes at stake, solid footing in the national championship race. Can Miami stop the Noles' half-decade of dominance? Emerging Heisman hopeful Woody Dantzler leads his Tigers against fellow unbeaten NC State. The Red River rivalry is back as the Sooner Schooner collides with Bevo's boys. And who let the dogs out? Mississippi State tries to fight the SEC's last unbeaten.
Game Day, live from the Orange Bowl, next.
College Game Day is presented by Discover Car, proud sponsor of college football's premier pregame show.
The Hurricanes in their house, first time since August. They've been traveling to hostile places, stumbled once, but the title hopes remain alive. And today they seek a landmark victory to prove to everybody, including themselves, that they're back. The Noles arrive as the new #1 in AP. None of these players experience anything but dominance over Miami. 5 straight wins. But today they know it is their ultimate test in the old horseshoe in Little Havana. Welcome to College Game Day as we prepare for a high noon shootout on Showdown Saturday. Chris Fowler, Lee Corso, Kirk Herbstreit on this set. The battle lines for this football game and this day were drawn back in August with rivaling national title game selections. It is Showdown Saturday all over the place, guys. Half the top 25 in action. 9 of the 13 unbeatens are on the road, but none of them have a tougher road trip than Florida State. When you come into this place, you want an experienced, accomplished, seasoned, unflappable quarterback. FSU has the ultimate example in Chris Winkie, but he also has a sprained foot, courtesy of a hole in the field at Maryland. It has improved slowly. He's practiced lightly all week. He wants badly to start. He made that clear at a late-night meeting yesterday. You see him walking in about an hour ago. Appears to be walking okay. We believe he will start. The question is, can he finish? Can he be effective? What kind of role will backup Marcus Outzen have to play in this game, and can they get by with him?
I think that's the decision. As this game goes on, you're going to see Mark Richt, the offensive coordinator, make the evaluation. Is Chris Winkie more effective at 70 or 80%, or is Marcus Outzen at 100% more effective? We talked with Chris Winkie this week. He came back for his senior year to play in a football game like this on the road, to be the leader, and to lead the Noles to a victory. This ankle will not keep him out of this football game. I promise you, Winkie will be out there.
I think Winkie will be in the shotgun. The reason why he'll be in the shotgun from a coach's standpoint, he doesn't have to drop back and put any pressure on his bad foot. Also, another point that's going to be very important is the heat factor. I'm telling you, as this game goes on, the less and less pass rush. And the best passer is going to be able to throw the ball, because you cannot rush the passer in this kind of weather.
You say as the sweat rolls off your chin here this morning. If anybody can handle a mental part of that injury, it's Chris Winkie. He's been through a very serious neck injury. Will he hold the ball too long? Will he get rid of it quicker than usual? These are all questions to keep an eye on. Meanwhile, for Miami, it's been a day of proof. The moment of truth after many recent failures against heavyweight teams. The Butch Davis regime. This entire roster, they have not won a game of this magnitude yet. If not now, when? Next year when they visit Tallahassee, they visit Blacksburg and Penn State? Now, today is the day to prove to skeptical Seminoles like Brian Allen, who scoffs at the notion that the Miami team is back. The current Kane seniors were part of the low point, 47 zip in 97. So now, with about 150 ex-Hurricanes, Kozar, Kelly, Irvin, now is the time to prove their point. The talk is through.
What we want to do is, they've won like 4 or 5 in a row. We have to break that. And, by me being a senior this year, I want to leave those the freshmen, sophomores, and juniors with something to talk about.
I like being the underdog. All my life I think I was the underdog. And I think all my years here at University of Miami, we've been the underdog. And when you're the underdog, you have nothing to lose.
There's a lot of people on both teams that know each other. And, some people go to Florida State, some go to Miami. So, it's a rivalry, and, people don't like each other on both sides of the ball. So, you go out there and you try and take people's heads off.
Morgan is a leader. His job to show the way, but deep down, perhaps questions of confidence for Miami. For the Noles, questions of the quarterback health. Big questions about the kicking game. A lot of things for Bobby Bowden to lose sleep over this week.
Including myself. You know, I'll tell you one thing about this situation. I talked to defensive coordinators all over the country whose job is to try to figure out and stop Bobby Bowden's offense. And it was unanimous. Every single one of them said in big games like this, Bobby turns to the tight end, tailback offense. He tries to win it with defense, special teams, and no mistakes on offense, except when he gets behind. And then Kirk, he opens it up, goes a fast break offense, and throws the football. I think that's exactly what he's going to do today, and that's exactly what might happen.
Well, I think he's going to be creative on offense because he's going to have to. If you look at the Miami Hurricanes coming into this football game, their mindset, I visited with them yesterday. This is a hungry football team. They want to win this football game. They're tired of moral victories. Being close to Florida State is no longer good enough. They've lost 5 straight games. It's the first time since '96 they're ranked in the top 10 when they play Florida State. They want this game, and the fact that it's being played here, they're going to be ready to go, trust me.
And you were over there. They got excited when they got word that all those ex-Hurricane players were going to be here and watching them. Sure. They want the legacy back. We'll talk much more about this football game coming up. In the meantime, strange days indeed in the SEC. No team from that great conference in the top 10 for the first time since '88. That's 192 polls. Only Auburn survived September unbeaten. Last Saturday, the entire Eastern Division lost except Georgia. The Bulldog bandwagon is loading up. It was empty a few weeks ago. It will be again unless they end a 9-year losing streak against Tennessee. And this sounds crazy, but the Vols are 0-2 in the conference. The Dogs' defense has been transformed by Gary Gibbs. Old school, vanilla, conservative zone, but it's working, not giving up the big plays. And the starters have not allowed a touchdown drive all year longer than 50 yards. Wow, today a big physical and psychological challenge. Georgia must prove it's up to it.
We're in a situation now with the league being a little unsettled with some of the losses that Florida and Tennessee have incurred. Really makes us understand that this game is probably monumental for us.
Tennessee, when they're down, you know, they kind of back off you a little bit. But, you know, when they got the pressure on you and they're up, you know, they'll come after you. And that's what they did against us down in Athens 2 years ago. Last year, you know, they kind of mixed it up a pretty bit much, but you know, we don't know what to expect out of them. But I can tell you what, I'll be prepared. This football team will be prepared. The offensive line will be prepared, and we'll be ready on Saturday for whatever Tennessee has to throw at us.
Very big game personally for Quincy Carter. We were there 2 years ago, last visit by the Vols. It was a woodshed beating. Georgia's got a lot to overcome mentally if they're going to beat this Tennessee team.
Well, if you look at Tennessee coming in, they're reeling a little bit offensively. Their ideal game plan is to run Travis Henry behind an inexperienced offensive line. Last week, they got him in trouble. They had to go to the pass. Well, today it's going to be tough again to find yards to come by against a talented defensive front. Up front, Georgia, I think that's the area they've improved the most. Last year, they were an underachieving unit. This year, only a little over 8 points a game. Look at the strength of Richard Seymour here, shedding a blocker and making the tackle. He's 6'6", 300 pounds. Now watch the middle of the screen here on Marcus Stroud. He's going to push the center of Arkansas right back into the backfield and make a big play. And that's what Travis Henry's going to have to deal with because that offensive line of Tennessee is inexperienced. That'll be the key match to watch. Tennessee's offensive line against Georgia up front. I think they're going to try to take Henry out of the game, make Suggs throw. Georgia wins this game playing at home with great defense.
That's a good pick, but I think Georgia has also turned into an old-fashioned football team like the SEC. They run first and then throw it second. They ran the ball 88 times the last 2 weeks, and they've won. They've thrown only 101 passes all year. That's the fewest in the SEC, and they're going to win with Quincy Carter's mind. Last week against Arkansas, Chris, 2 automatics for runs, 1 automatic for a pass. This kid's coming back. Quincy Carter and Georgia win this game.
Do it in the fourth quarter?
Yes, sir.
Tennessee's defense has been wilting late. 130 yards they gave up on average in the fourth quarter. Hang on. Watch out for that factor today. Watch those goalposts in Starkville. Second straight Saturday, an unbeaten team is coming down there to Starkville. Auburn is 3-0 in the SEC, and a win today, they'll have a hammerlock on that SEC West. A Bulldog win throws things wide open. This ain't no coaching fraternity love fest. Tuberville and Sherrill know each other from the Egg Bowl, studied each other, don't really like each other. Auburn surrendered an 18-point rally to Mississippi State on their home field. They want payback badly. Both teams want to run. Bulldogs Lee had that huge offensive line. They are a little bit nicked up. We'll see if they can keep it together at tackle.
But they are excited. They're excited. They're 3-1 in Mississippi State, and they just beat a top 3 team for the first time in 20 years. And they've done it by running the football. Last week they had 351 yards against Florida. But Kirk, this is the one I like. State had the ball 84 plays against the Gators. Ball control, little Deweys at home. I like...
You stole my Little Dewey's line.
That's all right. Mississippi State 4-1.
I like DeCenzo Miller and Dante Walker and Sparky Woods. Great play calling last week. But let's not forget what makes Mississippi State a great football team week in and week out, and that's their defense. You have to believe, with all the hype of Rudy Johnson, Joe Lee Dunn will have his boys in a frenzy to face the Auburn Tiger offense today. Their linebackers might be the best group of linebackers in the SEC, and they're huge. Connor Stevens there on the blitz, 6'4", 250. And how about Mario Higgins? He rushes the quarterback well. He also plugs the middle, 6'3", 253. Now, if Rudy Johnson can continue his 143 yards a game average, then I give up. He is the real deal, but I think it's going to be tough. As Lee mentioned, Little Dewey's, the Cowbells, Starkville, Mississippi State wins at home.
We both agree.
You guys want to explain Little Dewey's as a barbecue there?
Barbecue. It's the best.
You know a guy who wants no part of the barbecue, or Starkville Spurrier. Doesn't have to go back there till 2008, doesn't want to. This is the time of the show. Normally we bring in Tony Barnhart, our SEC maven, our good friend. He's under the weather. He's recovering at home. Tony, we wish you well. We'll see you back on the trail very soon. We'll talk more about the SEC, by the way, a little later in the show. Spurrier and the Gators hosting resurgent LSU, and plenty more on the Canes and the Seminoles. Santana Moss killed Florida State last year. Needs a breakout Saturday desperately today. And if you haven't seen Woody Dantzler play, stay tuned. Clemson's brilliant quarterback coming up on Game Day from Miami.
Today's show is presented by Discover Car, proud to be the sponsor of College Game Day, and in part by Purolator. You care about your car? Next time, put on a Pure One oil filter from Purolator. College Game Day is presented by Discover Car. There's always something more to discover.
We always show you what's cooking here in the pregame festivities. Today, a Seminole banner is cooking on the grill. Calm down, Lee. Calm down. It'll be okay. In 4 weeks, the high-scoring Hokies are here in Miami. In the meantime, they got a 10-game Big East win streak, Kirk.
They better get it going on defense. Big East leading rusher Ternardo Sharps, 121 yards a game, will need to play his best game of the year. I tell you, Virginia Tech struggled last week on defense. They gave up 34 points, but in the end, too much of this guy right here. Look at the acceleration upfield, and also Lee Suggs. Nice combination in the backfield. Virginia Tech wins good today.
Can't wait for that game down here in 4 weeks. Meanwhile, a battle of ACC unbeatens. Also a reunion. Longtime Bowden assistant Chuck Amato, lifelong Bowden son Tommy. Ironic that Tommy's brought Clemson back into the top 5 for the first time since Bobby knocked him out with the infamous punt Ruski back in 1988. 2,000 Tigers are rolling because of #1, Woodrow Dantzler, a.k.a. Woody. You know, Clemson's only had one guy in history in the top 10 in Heisman voting, but they've got a fancy new brochure out for Woody. They're promoting him as a Heisman campaign, and why not? He's a tailback with an arm. He's a quarterback who can do a lot of different things, and his coach says Dantzler is outplaying Mr. Vick. Kirk, how about that? That's debatable, but as the brochure says, there certainly are no knocks on Woody these days.
Explosive, amazing,
athletic,
spectacular. Sometimes I'm shocked at some of the things I do.
Explosive, amazing,
Athletic, spectacular. What Woody's doing is spectacular. It's something I haven't seen.
explosive,
Amazing,
athletic.
spectacular.
Touchdown, Clemson!
Man, did I do that?
1, 2, 3, 4.
Whatever he does is spectacular. Breaking tackles, spin moves, hurdling people, running over people, running around people, whatever he's doing, he does some spectacular things.
With Woody Dantzler back there, you know what I mean? He's just like a wild card back. You never know what he's going to do.
2, 3, break!
If a play breakdown, a wrong read would always take off with the ball. Like sometimes we think it'd be a breakdown, but next thing you know, you see Woody scampering for 50 yards down the field.
I know a couple of times I've come over the sideline and be like, Woody, you got to let me know when you're going to take off. You know, maybe I can help you out a little more. I feel like I'm just back there watching. I ought to have a ticket to watch.
You can't hardly knock him off his feet. He's kind of compact, and you can't hit him flush. You're gonna hit him on the edges, and he's so athletic. He's gonna spin, stay on one foot, hold himself up with one hand, and continue on.
He makes people miss.
He can be a drop back passer, a passer on the run, and a tailback.
My athletic ability has always been there, but as far as the mental standpoint of the game, I've grown so much. It's like from a baby to a grown man in a matter of a couple of years.
He's making quicker decisions. He's making better decisions. He's making them more often.
When adversity strikes Woody, or when it strikes the whole team, he's the first one to respond in a positive way and to be very, very optimistic in every situation. And so that draws you to him.
Break!
I know I got other guys out there who are going to make plays. So I don't have to go out there looking out, I got to go make a play, I got to do this. I'm surrounded by skilled guys who are there to make the play. I just got to give them the ball.
They talk about a lot about how Chris Winkie and Michael Vick is such a great leader and helps their team a lot. Well, I think, Woodrow is doing the same thing for this team and leading us all in the right direction.
Now he's being mentioned with Michael Vick in terms of the Heisman.
The whole time I'm just thinking, if that's not a Heisman Trophy candidate or a winner or something like that, I don't know what is.
Can't get caught up in the hype. All this talk going on, Woody up for the Heisman. You get caught up in that, that's when you get lost and you lose your focus and things start to go downhill. So you got to maintain a level head, appreciate the stuff that you get, but always know things could be different.
2, 3, break!
Dantzler going for history. 2,000 passing, 1,000 rushing, never been done. He needs to pick up the pace. Passing, needs to average $182 a game. He is the leading rusher of the ACC. Wants to play well. First career start was against NC State. Had a poor fourth quarter, fumbled the game away, wants to come back and play well. Meanwhile, obviously, they're big underdogs. Not many folks believing in the Cardiac Wolfpack and their phenom quarterback, Phillip Rivers, who has 13 touchdown passes in 4 games.
Well, Lee and I had a chance to see him a couple weeks ago, and he's one of these quarterbacks that even though he's young, he seems to get better as the game goes on. He has a big-time receiver in Corin Robinson. However, young Phillip will see some things from the Clemson defense that he hasn't seen all year. Not only blitzing, but raw speed. Clemson can go on the defensive side of the ball. Case in point is Keith Adams, my favorite linebacker in the entire country. 5'11", 220 pounds. People think he's undersized. Meanwhile, all he does is sack quarterbacks. He had 16 on the year last year, 10 tackles for a loss this year, and already 6 sacks. Now, I think the reason Clemson wins this game is their defense. They're going to confuse young Phillip Rivers with a variety of looks, make him guess on the blitzes, and then back out, and then blitz him and sack him. It's going to be a tough day for that young quarterback. Clemson's going to win big today.
Speaking of quarterbacks, this Dantzler, I really like him. He's a tailback. Playing in a quarterback position. He's a tailback who can throw the football. And the thing I like about this guy is this. While most quarterbacks in the country get their rushing yards by scrambling, Clemson has numerous plays designed just for Dantzler to run the ball. Draws, traps, counters, everything. And I'll tell you the scary thing about this guy, Chris. This is his first full year of college football, and he's scary. Reminds me a lot of Michael Vick.
Ooh, a new quote for the brochure. There you go. There's the Woody brochure.
Telling you, the guy's a great football. Clemson bombs him with their offense.
Yeah. Spirit of the debate, by the way. Clemson has a Gore and a Bush. They have Buddy Gore III, a walk-on kicker. They have Javon Bush, a backup defensive tackle. We give you all kinds of information.
Inside stuff.
They don't have a crouch. Nebraska does, but they also have some issues on offense. We'll kick around the Huskers, and on the day in the Big 12 in which Texas and Oklahoma returns to prominence, we will break down the Red River rivalry with a report coming up. Butch Davis paces. He knows this is one of his biggest games. He's been told time and time again, you haven't beaten the Seminoles, you haven't beaten the Hokies. Is this the day? Meanwhile, there is a battle of unbeatens in the Big 12. Next couple weeks, Huskers hit the road where it's been a mighty struggle. They even struggled at home against Mizzou, Kirk.
Last week, Missouri's quarterback Kirk Farmer ran wild, almost mounting 500 yards of total offense. And now they face a more talented quarterback in Sage Rosenfeld of Iowa State. I think on the offense, Nebraska needs to do a better job of getting Bobby Newcomb involved. Only 6 catches on the year. He's got to make more plays.
Meanwhile, elsewhere in the Big 12, the Longhorns have their own concerns. The Red River rivalry is back on the national landscape. Life is good. First time they've been ranked in the top 15 when they meet since '84. There were a pair of top 15 teams there. Pair of pass-happy offenses. Pair of Roy Williams, the safety for Oklahoma, could match up against the freshman receiver for Texas, who share the name of Kansas's basketball coach. Rabid cheering section divides the Cotton Bowl 50-50. We go to ABC's Sean Grandy and David Norrie for the setup, guys.
We may be at the Texas State Fair, but it's the Oklahoma coaching carousel that has finally stopped spinning. Bob Stoops has his team playing very well. They are 4-0. They are running the ball more than last year, mixing it up, and they are second in the nation right now in takeaways. They may not be ready for a national championship, but they're certainly ready for a primetime game like this one.
Well, that's for sure. And when you talk Oklahoma football, you talk Josh Heupel. He's had some tremendous offseason work with former Heisman runner-up Chuck Long, hitting 67% of his balls. The key to the game, can they protect Heupel? Can they keep the number 14 jersey clean?
Well, Texas, you know their story by now. 21 other positions on the field. You got 2 good players. They say you've got depth. If you have it at the quarterback position, well, you got yourself a controversy.
Well, Sims is going to have his day, but Major Applewhite, when the chips are down, Texas has to go with him. He was a Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year a year ago. He has 2 wins under his belt against Nebraska. I think you got to go with Applewhite, and you got to go with him often.
Both Applewhite and Heupel threw for 300 yards in the game last year. First time any quarterback from either school has done that.
Yeah, guys, with a total of 639. The slow start for Texas. We talked to Mac Brown. He's got a lot of concerns. 7 straight quarters. They haven't had an offensive touchdown in the first quarter. Oklahoma and Heupel jumped on them last year. Can they do it again?
Yeah, they might, because that quarterback, Josh Heupel, is the best quarterback in the country throwing the football that nobody's talking about. He holds 21 Oklahoma school passing records now. He has 11 300 yards passing games, and he's an excellent field general besides that. Now watch number 14, Heupel, here as he directs his receiver to the open area. He throws a touchdown pass, 22 yards to Andre Wopo. Now, the key to Josh Heupel, he's had 6 different receivers averaging over 12 yards per reception. I think Oklahoma is a terrific team. They'll score, but not enough. Texas offensive balance wins this game.
It's going to be the toughest test they've faced all year against that Texas defense. Big controversy in Austin about the quarterback situation. Who should be the starter? Chris Sims, who has an amazing future, and that's the key word, future, or the experienced Major Applewhite. I've said since August, you go with experience when if you deal with the quarterback situation down in Austin. Major Applewhite has come back from an ACL injury, and he has demonstrated great willpower in his kind of anything for the team approach this season. But it's time that he takes over the starting role for the Longhorns today against Oklahoma. He will start. His passing, I think, will scare Oklahoma into backing up. And watch out for Hodges Mitchell. He's been quiet all year. Today, I think he has a breakout game. Texas wins with Hodges Mitchell running for big yards.
Those big running lanes, I think you're onto something with that game plan.
Yeah, we'll see.
Both like Texas. About to get very serious for Oklahoma. Oklahoma, Miami, Georgia. Similar situations. You got to prove your back. You got to step up in a big game and win it. ESPN Classic, by the way, at 3:30 Eastern. Classic Texas. You got all kinds of guests there. Darrell Royal, Sims, Bosworth, past games.
Killing them.
Check it out. We'll talk more about the SEC. Rohan Davey was one of the heroes last Saturday, limping around, leading the overtime win. Talk about that game. And oh yeah, the Seminole kicking game. Are you nervous, Lee? Are you nervous, Knowles fans? We'll break that down. Coming up.
Tradition is brought to you by Tostitos. Dig in, kick back, stay all season.
Welcome back to College Game Day at Miami's Orange Bowl. Plenty more on the Knowles and Canes coming up. But, before Lee Corso went to Florida State, he lived in Miami, and 53 years ago, he played on the Miami Red Devils Boys Club team, number 44.
I was a tight end. Look at the guy.
You're
what
huge.
A great picture.
You're a big guy.
Thank
tight
you.
end?
Look at that game face.
Sunshine Scooter.
Shoot.
Meanwhile, up in Gainesville, Florida is changing quarterbacks, and for once, that's not the story. The Gator Nation cannot fathom how the team that was 9th best in the country against the run last year is now 2nd worst in the SEC in that category. Most of the same players, same schemes, but they've been solved. The linebackers are getting manhandled. The secondaries having to make all those tackles. Spurrier, by the way, not lost back-to-back SEC games since '92, so he is a little bit concerned about that. He's making a quarterback change. Jesse Palmer's injured, so he goes with the young guys.
Yeah, Florida will use 2 rookie quarterbacks in a game against LSU. The reason why? They're both talented passers, and they're now ready to lead the Gators to victory. First of all, they've got number 9, Brock Berlin. He was the number 1 high school quarterback in the nation last year. Look at him stay in the pocket, throw that touchdown. Number 3 is Rex Grossman. He has a tremendously quick release. He hits number 12, Jabbar Gaffney, for a touchdown. Now, Grossman will start because he threw 4 touchdown passes last week. Florida threw the ball for 491 yards, the 3rd highest total in school history, and still lost. Why? Lousy defense, lousy tackling, average running, to do all of those things better. And I'll tell you what, Gators win this one at home.
I was going to say good stuff on the quarterbacks, but until they get their defense corrected, it doesn't matter how many yards they throw for. They're going up against today a guy in Rohan Davey, SEC Player of the Week last week, threw the ball all over the place. Reminded me of Ty Detmer. Remember the Holiday Bowl where he's limping around against Michigan? That's what Davey went through last week. Today, Florida's got to get back to tackling and playing better defense, getting pressure on Rohan Davey, because if they don't, he'll throw for big yards. I think Florida win, but they better crank up this defense and start start playing better. Over 1,000 yards they've given up in their last 2 games.
Better crank up the snapper. They need Vince Carter at quarterback to collect those high snaps with that vertical rise. Now, of course, to one of the central issues of this ball game today and the source of many sleepless hours for Bobby Bowden, the place kicking. Now, Bowden's been spoiled for 6 years. Scott Bentley, Sebastian Janikowski, the 2 top scorers in ACC history, each of them helped deliver national titles with critical kicks. They erased the pain of those 2 wide right losses here to Miami. But now the ghosts are back. The Noles kickers have missed 3 field goals inside the 35. They have missed 6 extra points. Janikowski missed none of the above last year. Matt Munyon, Chance Gwaltney, they've struggled. Trust us, if it's close, late, Bobby and the Noles do not want to be kicking it in the old OB.
You know that Bobby Bowden wants to get this young fella a field goal because he missed one earlier. He missed an extra point earlier.
A lot of pressure on that poor kid. I'd hate to be his mother or daddy. They're the ones that catch it, poor things.
Well, half the time my mom can't even watch it when I kick. She just has somebody tell her what happened.
You've got a lot of potential as a kicker. You know, he's just got to get consistency. When we call on our kicker inside the 20, you have to make it.
And he missed that one, too.
There was a picture of Munyon in the paper, and he was kicking the ball, and he had his leg up, and he had his head up. And I said, you know, your head's supposed to be down looking at the ground. You know, when you kick a ball, you kick, but your head's just like a golfer hitting the ball. His head's still down there where he's hitting the ball. And so I mentioned to him.
He thinks that's what's wrong with me, and he's right. You know, if I keep my head down, I think I'll be all right.
And missed it to the left. And that's going to be one of those years for Bobby. Well, it could be. He's had wide right too many times.
In 1991, that was our first wide right. We had a 37-yard field. That's not much more than an extra point.
It's up. Missed it to the right.
The next year, it's the same thing. We even get to nearly the same spot on the field. Another kicker.
Lowry hit it.
Considering the history of the wide rights, I mean, how ironic would it be if it came down to another kick?
Just hope and pray that it don't come down to a kick.
I hope that we can go out and put points on the board and defense will hold up and it won't come down to a field goal.
If it's a close game, that's usually won with a kick. So it's kind of scary, you know, but maybe our guy will do it.
I'd rather, you know, win this game by a lot and not make it a close one, but I mean, if it came down to a kick, and it might, I think I'd be a lot more comfortable with it.
Well, you're asking how's he looking today? Yeah. Matt Munyon in warm-up. That's way wide left. As Bobby said, that's scary. Come on, it's going to be okay, big guy. What about the rest of the special teams, though? Because they've been good, and they beat Virginia Tech last year in the Sugar Bowl with special teams.
Was that really?
That was real. That was real.
Live. Yeah.
Well, let's look at some other key stats now while we're determining the kicking game advantage here. Hidden yardage, return yardage, advantage, Miami. Block kicks, advantage, Miami. Net punting, even. Now, Florida State needs Damon Runyon, Paul Bunyan, Matt Munyon. They need somebody to kick at extra points, or it could be 1992 all over again.
I think it affects their strategy. I think they worry about not being able to kick field goals. We disagree on this, I know, but I think it hurts them not to be able to count on 3 points like they could last year. We'll talk more about this football game, the Miami side of things. Predictions still ahead as the battle lines are drawn here in the Orange Bowl. We'll also talk Big Ten. Belisari and the unbeaten Buckeyes in Madison against the Badgers. What is Miami quarterback Ken Dorsey thinking a half hour to kick off? This is by far his biggest game for the 19-year-old. He's pretty cool under fire, but was not up to it against Washington. Handled it at West Virginia. 121 straight attempts without an interception. If they keep that going, they got a chance. Big Ten weather issues all over the place today, including Madison, where the Buckeyes are unbeaten and refreshed after a week off, and the Badgers are wounded 0-2. You betcha we need a victory today. Last 3 games, the Badger defense has allowed the opponents to come down the field and score a late score we can't have it happen. Columbus, they're whispering about opening up the offense, spreading the field, using the speed, getting the mismatches. I don't know about that. Meanwhile, Wisconsin, not talking about that. Talk about the nation's leading rusher, Michael Bennett, who we saw on the field last week. Very impressive in person.
I was very, very impressed with Michael Bennett. I think he's a better running back than Ron Dane. And I'll tell you what hurt them more than anything. That lousy field they have at Michigan caused him to slip and slide. Well, I tell you what, this kid's a threat to score anytime he has the ball. Watch this. Now, number 29. Watch Bennett as he hits off tackle. Boom, to the outside. Boy, is he a good, strong runner. And now, watch him go left. Break it to the outside, and that's why I think he's tremendously important. Michael Bennett had 129 yards against Michigan. Wisconsin has artificial turf. I think Michael Bennett will get 1 or 2 against the Buckeyes. Wisconsin upsets Ohio State.
You know, Michael Bennett, you're right. He is the real deal and a very talented running back. I think Wisconsin's one-dimensional on offense. They don't throw the football. They're last in the Big Ten in passing offense. And because of that, Ohio State's going to load up the line of scrimmage, put 8 men in the box, and play man coverage on the outside. A lot of talk about Jamar Fletcher, but the Buckeyes feel they might have the best cover cornerback in all of college football, and Nate Clements. Nate Clements last week against Penn State. Watch him high point the ball here, and the closing speed is what makes Nate very special. He's got great savvy. He'll have a chance today to go and shut down the Wisconsin receivers. That's why I think Ohio State wins this game. They're going to get up into the line and make Wisconsin throw to win. The Buckeyes go into a hostile environment. That'll be the toughest thing for them to deal with. If they can deal with it, they win this game.
Ooh, you guys disagree. Maybe Reggie Germany breaks out. Maybe they get payback for that embarrassing home field loss. Meanwhile, Michigan, they've got to go in 2-0 in the Big Ten in the national title hunt, and they're an underdog at Purdue. Character test, says Vinny Sutherland for the Boilermakers after a couple of damaging losses. Drew Brees says the team has to show more pride. Didn't show a lot of pride, dropped 13 passes last year in a big loss against Michigan. David Terrell was a DB that day. This is another test for Michigan's DBs today when Terrell will not be with them.
Yeah, last week we saw Michigan's defense, and they played very well against Wisconsin in the one-dimensional attack, but they're going to be tested more so against Drew Brees and the multi-talented offense that Joe Tiller has. But you're going to see Drew Brees, in my opinion, today get back into the Heisman Trophy race by winning this game and throwing the football against that secondary in Michigan. 8th in the Big Ten in passing defense. It's going to catch up to him today. I think Brees will throw well and get back in the race.
That would be another not so fast, my friend, but I'm saving the big one for the last time. All right. Michigan's conservative offense last week had 375 yards of total offense. They scored 13 points. That's 3 points for every 89 yards. No. That's not good. They got to open that thing up. I think they open it up, and I think they do beat Purdue.
You got Michigan?
I got Michigan.
I got Purdue.
Oh, you split on that one again.
That's right.
Keep an eye on Northwestern. I know they're rolling. They're at home against Indiana. Keep an eye on that. They're not safe. It could be a shootout. We'll talk more about the Pac-10 shootout. Ken Simonton. Somebody please give the man some pub. He's tearing it up out west, but they have to visit Seattle. And, of course, we'll talk more about the Canes and Knowles. Santana Moss goes on campus with Kirk. Can he step up and atone for some fumbles already this season?
On Campus is presented by Outback Steakhouse, proud sponsor of the 2001 Outback Bowl.
In the Pac-10, the lone unbeaten Oregon State tries for a second consecutive landmark victory. They end a 26-game skid against USC. Now the Beavers have to take a bite out of a 12-game losing streak against Washington in Seattle, no less. Homecoming up there for Dennis Erickson, who said that last week's win ranked with any win that he experienced while here in Miami during his 6 seasons. Another upset gives Oregon State a 5-0 start, which will be a first since 1939.
Well, Oregon State has a great offensive scheme, Chris. What they do is they spread the field all over the place with wide receivers, make a secondary, respect the pass game. Then they run Ken Simonton all day. So for Washington to win today, they've got to stop Ken Simonton, which means Larry Triplett, the big interior defensive lineman for the Huskies, needs to have a big day. He's off to a great start this year. He's 6'1", 300 pounds. He has 6 tackles for a loss, and I think the key to the game will be the fact that they have a chance to get inside pressure because of Triplett's ability to squeeze through the guard and the center. I think playing at home, the Husky defense will really come together and get it done. Their back's against the wall after losing last week. It's a must-win, and I like Washington to win this at home.
Okay, I like them for another reason. I like Washington's defense. They love to pressure the opponents. They've done a great job this year. They've had 13 sacks already this year. They only had 13 all of last year. And and they forced 15 turnovers. I like Washington pressure defense at home to win this one.
They've really held Simonton in check the last couple of years. Meanwhile, a guy who Washington held in check was Santana Moss. They laid the lumber on him up in Seattle. He really hasn't been the same since. 12 catches, Kirk, no touchdowns. You visited with him on campus. He knows he's got to bust out right over here today.
Well, he's going to have to bust out. I think when Santana Moss talks about the Florida State game, he looks at this game as a chance to turn around the season for the team, but also for himself because of being slowed down. And I had a chance yesterday to sit down with Santana and find out what makes him tick on and off the field. When you're away from the game, what do you like to do to relax? Just whatever you do when you're not thinking football, what do you do?
What I do when I'm not thinking football, sometimes I'm on the video games all day. You know, my mom tell me, I'm a video game freak. You know, I'm always playing college football or Madden, you know, something like that. And then sometimes I'm just chilling with my little boy. You know, I have a 5-month-old young man, and I'm just blessed to have him. You know what I mean? He just brings more brightness to my day. Every day I go home, and I'm just looking forward to seeing him. We went up there saying, okay, we could do this against Washington, we can do that. But we didn't know that 12 man was going to be infected. And then you come to someone's hometown, their backyard, playing like that, starting off flat, you can't win like that, you know? And it was just a struggle for us earlier, and now I think that we're coming back around right now.
You started off against McNeese State. Oh, my gosh, look out.
Santana Moss is gone.
And then you got a little bit of an injury, and things have slowed down.
You know, I think about things like, I think about that every day. You know, I say to myself, I came out, McNeese State. It's time, you know, Santana Moss, let's do it. You know, we at home, I have my mom, dad, my little boy, everybody in the stands, you know, looking at me, and I just wanted to do it up, you know what I mean? And every time I touch the ball, I try to make something happen with it, you know? And then I got a little ankle sprain, and I'm talking about, it's like, that's been like the worst thing I ever been through in life, you know what I mean? Because you can do so much healthy, and then as soon as you get one little nick, it's always going to be on your mind, it's always going to be in the back of your head.
What is going to be the difference in this game? Miami wins this game. What is the reason in your mind?
I think the reason will make us win this game, we have to come out and play 60 minutes Hurricane football. And what I mean by Hurricane football, you know, you had to come out there, and we know Florida State stay chopping, you know what I mean? It's always done, and you know, you strive off that. You know, Florida State will come down to your hometown and play that same music just to get you out of your game, but a Hurricane, you can't run through a Hurricane.
Miami wins this game. Are the Canes back?
To tell you the truth, you know, I'm not going to speak too soon because I done said this so many times. If we win this game, if Miami win this game, which we plan on doing, you're going to see a whole different atmosphere, you know. It's going to be trouble to calm us down, you know, because it's like, we backed up for so many years, you know. Me, myself, you know, it's my last year, it's my last go-round. And for you to calm me down after this game, if we come out with a victory, it's going to be trouble. And in our minds, we're going to think that no one can stop us because Florida State is always that team that no matter who you play, there's always going to be a Florida State that you have to beat.
Santana grew up here in Miami. He knows what this game means to the Hurricane, the former players. He grew up when the Canes were a dominating team. He will be ready to play. If you look at what he did last year, 9 catches, 180 yards, and 2 scores. It's because Florida State will challenge him. They'll probably do it again today. If they play man coverage, Santana Moss and Reggie Wayne will beat them if they can protect Ken Dorsey because they have superior speed on the outside.
They'll be open against that Noel secondary. Whether Dorsey can get the ball to him is the big key. Meanwhile, for the Florida State side of it, quarterback Chris Winkie, he's got an orthotic support in that left shoe. You can see that left foot is heavily wrapped in the warm-up. We'll get back to that issue shortly. Welcome back to Miami. Chris Winkie's been through an injury that came very close to paralyzing him. You think a bruised foot bothers him? He wants badly to play. You can see in the warm-up he looks like he's going to start, we're told, at this point. You talk about talent with these two teams. Opening day in the NFL, a total of 72 ex-Florida State and Miami players. Would have been 73, of course, if Winkie had decided to become, say, a third-round draft pick instead of come back and go for a second national title. He's slimmed down, worked on quicker footwork, which is why it's ironic that a foot problem has caused him trouble this week. To understand why Winkie's status is such a big concern and what he means to the team, Shelley Smith visited Tallahassee.
Perhaps it was watching the scare and agile Michael Vick gave his team in the Sugar Bowl, or Perhaps it was the thought of bigger, faster defensive players. But Florida State's Chris Winkie knew he had to make some changes before he returned to play his senior season.
People say, you know, is that one thing that you felt would help you as a quarterback? And no question. The things that I were lacking is what I focused on this summer. Footwork, you know, lose some weight to become quicker, and then spend time throwing the football and watching film. And that's what my summer consisted of. And I think it has helped me.
He's definitely faster and quicker, you know, because last year he played about 245, and this year he's probably been playing around 228. You take some guys go back, and they can't move around in the pocket, and so they get sacked. But a guy that can move here and there, and he can buy time and get the ball off, and Chris does that as good or better than any quarterback we've ever had here.
And with Peter Warrick gone, Winkie has shown an ability to read defensive coverages and get the ball to a variety of targets. 5 different receivers have caught touchdown passes already this season.
Last year, he threw the ball to a lot of receivers, but his main target was Pete. But this year, he's spreading the ball, you know, equally to all of the receivers. I mean, he's hit like 9 different receivers this year, and I think that's pretty good for the team.
Biggest difference from Chris this year, he's making all his reads. And I think that's better for him, and it's better for us as a receiving core, knowing that you got opportunity to catch a pass every play.
How much more fun is it that he's spreading things around?
It's real fun, you know. I mean, you know, you go into the game, you know you're going to get the ball. You know, whereas last year, you didn't know if you was going to get the ball or not.
It's great. It's morale, guys jumping around, flying around, knowing that you're going to play, excited. Feels good.
What I tell them, and I think the most important thing for the receivers, is that you never know when it's going to be your turn. If you decide to take one play off, that might be the play that we need to win the football game. They've taken that to heart.
Winkie holds a school record for passing touchdowns and passing yards, but he is also the first 3-year starter at quarterback in the Bobby Bowden era.
To me, it was a surprise when I found out that there's never been a 3-year starter. You know, that was an opportunity I didn't want to pass up. I've got an opportunity to be one of the best, if not the best, in terms of what's been accomplished.
Just by Chris being older and being an experienced a lot of things, it just, wow, man, he's willing to go the extra mile. Why not we willing to go the extra mile for him? He said we don't have any me guys. Everybody know Chris has big dreams of leading his team to another national championship. We just along for the ride.
His age has led to the question, is there a maximum age in college football? No. There's another question, is it fair to bring a 28-year-old back and play quarterback? Noles fans say, of course it is, and once again, late word Winkie will start as we thought he would.
You know, Chris Winkie in the shotgun is at his finest with that fast break offense. He spreads the ball around to all of his receivers. He's a tremendous passer, but he's got great receivers. Here he hits number 23, Travis Minor. He has 18 catches, averages 8. 13, Snoop Menace. Snoop. Yes, sir. Bomb right here. Number 4, Anquan Bolden. Post corner, touchdown play. Look at this guy. And Andrew Atruz Bell. He hits the jump ball right here. He hits them all because of the situation with his foot. He'll be in the shotgun because it doesn't hurt as much. Be alert, my friend. Be alert. Winkie, Winkie, Winkie.
Winkie. All this talk about Chris Winkie, I think a bigger factor is the play of Miami's quarterback, Ken Dorsey. You look at Miami's only loss this year. He went on the road, was rattled against the Washington Husky defense. He wasn't accurate. He made poor decisions. Luckily for him, he had a chance to get his confidence back the next game against West Virginia. Again, on the road, he performed perfectly. He was 22 of 33 with 2 touchdowns. He looked much better. He sat back in the pocket, threw for 291 yards. He got hit, and he kept coming back. As far as entering this game against the Florida State defense, he needed that, and the offense needed that to get their confidence back. And I think this is the key. If he can handle the intimidating style and the speed of Jamal Reynolds in the Florida State defense, they will win this game if they can protect that and Dorsey makes plays.
Yeah, Jamal Reynolds has been a freak. 10 sacks. He's going to break Peter Boulware's career record if he gets 9 more. Roland Seymour, the other bookend, is back for the first time today. He'll play 20 or 25 snaps. It's almost the moment of truth. We got political statements here. Elian Gonzalez says Miami wins. That's the story from Havana. What's up in Little Havana? We'll weigh in next.
Today's show is presented by Discover Card, proud to be the sponsor of College Game Day, and in part by Tostitos. Dig in, kick back, stay all season. This has been a presentation of ESPN, the worldwide leader in sports. For more, log on to ESPN.com, your home for college football on the internet.
It's a great day in college football. FSU Miami is back. Texas Oklahoma is back. There are teams that have been down that have to step up and make statements. One of them's Miami, one of them's Georgia, one of them's Texas. Quick recap on the showdowns, Kirk.
Well, I think the showdowns today, I like Ohio State to beat Wisconsin going on the road. I think Purdue in the passing offense will beat Michigan. I like Texas over Oklahoma, and I also like Tennessee to beat Georgia.
I don't agree with you. That's right. That's right. You all right now? You ready? Okay, I like Wisconsin to upset Ohio State and Michigan to upset Purdue. I'm not using my not so fast, though. That's for the big game.
Now it's this game. Is it a day of truth for Miami? 25 straight starts won by Chris Winkie. Lee Corso's had 15 correct picks when he's put the headgear on. Our researcher, Chris Felica, 27-0. When Miami is here and he's here, that is the record. Some streak something's got to give.
Something's got to give. What do you got?
Well, I think the key in this football game is going to be the fact that Miami is playing at home. They have superior defensive speed. It's the first defense that's going to challenge Florida State, and they're going to put pressure on Chris Winkie. How he handles that will be interesting. And also, if they protect Ken Dorsey, look for Santana Moss and Reggie Wayne to go through the yards for big year. Miami wins this game over
Okay,
Florida State.
very good pick. Now, wait a minute.
Miami
I want to
over
correct
Florida
you.
State.
I got 16 straight.
16 straight.
And I'm going with...
The streak goes down today.
No way.
Seminoles. The battle lines are drawn. Their national title picks on the line. We're back here all day on ESPN2. We got Big Ten football. Penn State, Minnesota. Enjoy.